Have you ever ended up buying something you really did not need? Have you ever been roped into signing up to a store card before you even knew what was happening? Have you ever tried to persuade someone of a great idea but they don't seem to buy it? Then you need to learn about the psychology of persuasion, and that is exactly what we'll be doing in this video. Hi, my name is Dr Aziz. I'm a psychology graduate of Cambridge University and also a medical doctor. In this video I'll be covering the New York Times best-selling book Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Professor Robert Cialdini. Interestingly, Chaldini felt he was someone who is naturally gullible, too much of an easy pushover, and subsequently dedicated his entire career studying the psychology of persuasion, and we have the results here. It's a fascinating read in just over 330 pages, but as always you don't have to read it because I've done the hard work for you and will be presenting all the key points in the next 7 minutes or so. By the end of this crash course you will not only be able to defend yourself from deceit but also flex your own persuasive muscles. The world is a complex, busy place where it is impossible for us to reflect on all the details of every decision we make. Inevitably we end up using shortcuts, and most of the time this approach works well, but this shortcut system can also be manipulated. An example of a shortcut is that we are much more willing to do people a favor if a reason is provided, any reason in fact. An experiment mentioned early on in the book is that of skipping the queue to use the copy machine. The researcher found that when no reason was given, 60% of people complied, i.e. allowed them to skip the queue. If a reason was given, may I skip the queue because I am in a rush, 94% of the people complied. Fascinatingly, however, if a nonsensical reason was given, such as may I skip the line because I need to make copies, 93% of people still complied. Shortcuts are a problem, however, because many salesmen, advertisers and con artists manipulate them against our own interests, and we're going to learn how. There are 6 basic psychological principles we use as shortcuts, which we should all be aware of to protect ourselves and if necessary use when needed. Number 1, reciprocation. Number 2, scarcity. Number 3, consistency. Number 4, social proof. Number 5, liking. Number 6, authority. And I'll explain with examples what each of these mean. Reciprocation. Humans have an overpowering need to return favors. We feel a psychological burden to return favors. Our ancestors were able to share resources, safe in the knowledge that they would be reciprocated later on. Several studies are cited in the book to prove this point, one of which is the Christian organization in America gifting flowers to people on the street. Although the people generally found this annoying, statistically they still made more donations than those who did not receive flowers to satisfy their need to reciprocate. So how can you resist this tactic? Start by asking if the favors you are receiving are really genuine, or are they simply attempts to manipulate you. Think about whether you want to donate your money to that organization or if you're only feeling obliged to because you've received a free gift. Remember, favors warrant favors in return, but tricks do not. We then come on to the rejection then retreat strategy. This basically says if you want something specific from a negotiation partner, start with an offer that they are pretty sure to reject, then retreat from your initial offer to what you really want. Your opponent will likely see this as a concession and likewise will feel obliged to make a concession themselves and accept the supposedly lower offer. The rejection then retreat approach is powerful as it draws on 2 psychological phenomena. 1, reciprocation, which we have already covered, but also number 2, contrast principle, i.e. when 2 items are presented to us one after the other, the difference to the second one is magnified. Scarcity. Scarcity means lack of something or limited supply. When an item or opportunity becomes scarce, we desire them more. For a limited time only, last chance, sale ends in 2 days. There's a reason why advertisers repeatedly claim that a sale won't last forever. According to the scarcity principle, when something is hard to obtain, we are more inclined to buy it. Think back to the toilet roll fiasco during the pandemic. Did you really need 100 toilet rolls, or was it the psychological threat of scarcity working against you? To protect ourselves, we should always ask whether we really need the item in question because of its functionality or because of an irrational wish to possess it. Banning something makes it more desirable. That is why censorship is a double-edged sword. When information is banned, it is perceived as more valuable than if it were freely available. Sometimes this goes even in the face of logic and science. In Florida, when it was announced that laundry detergents containing phosphate would be made illegal, residents began smuggling and hoarding masses of the product and even started to view phosphate-based detergents as better than before. The pining for the banished is also known as the Romeo and Juliet effect. A study in Colorado showed that when parents interfered with the romantic interests of their children, feelings of love and desire only increased. When the interference was lessened, the romantic feelings cooled off. Psychologically, humans are averse to losing opportunity. We come on to the 3rd psychologically persuasive technique outlined by Dr. Cialdini, and that is consistency. As humans, we have an innate to try and remain consistent in our behaviors. Being consistent makes our life easier. We don't need to decide how to respond to each situation if we are simply consistent with an earlier decision. How does this fit in with persuasion? Well, when someone makes a commitment, however small, they are more likely to follow through with it. Start with baby steps. This is why sales salespeople give away free items on the street. They utilize what is called the foot in the door technique. Once you commit to a sample, you are more likely to then go and buy that product. The harder we have to work for something, the more likely we are to value it. Salesmen often use this to lowball customers. They offer a ridiculously low price initially. You take the car for a test drive, you come up with your own reasons as to why it is a good deal, and then the salesman says actually the earlier price quoted was a mistake. You are still more likely to purchase that car. Again, building on consistent behavior. To defend against this manipulation is very simple. Ask yourself, would you have made this purchase had you known the true price beforehand? If the answer is no, then walk away. Social proof. When we are uncertain about something, we naturally look for social proof. Is this what other people are doing? Is this what other people are buying? It's also why companies advertise products with slogans such as best selling and fastest growing. It's why charity boxes which already have some money in them, or a video that already has some comments, people are more likely to add to them. People by nature conform to one another. Number 5 of 6, liking. We comply with people that we like. But what gets us to like someone? Well, that's a whole other topic altogether, and you can watch the animated summary How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I've covered on this channel. In this book, Dr. Cialdini mentions flattery. You'll often find salespeople smiley, complimentary, getting you to like them. Studies have shown people are more likely to listen to someone who is physically attractive, as they have what is called a halo effect. A person being likable or apparently on the same team as you is utilized in the good cop, bad cop interrogation method. After a suspect is verbally abused by the bad cop, the kind and understanding good cop stands up for the suspect, seemingly like a friend and trusted confidant, and often confession is then made to the good cop because it seems as though he is on your side. Now, how do you protect yourself here? Simply ask yourself, have you come to like someone or something unusually strongly in a short period of time? If so, tread with caution. Authority. This is the final psychological trick used in persuasion. From birth, we are taught to always obey figures of authority, be they teachers, doctors, or police officers. An example of the high levels of compliance is when a nurse received written instructions from a doctor, an authority figure, to treat a person for pain in his right ear, written like this: administer the medicine in our ear. She proceeded to put the drops in the patient's back passage, and neither she nor the patient stopped to question how this would help with his ear pain. That is because authority more often than not negates independent thinking. Studies have shown that titles are also used as symbols of authority. Faced with, for example, a professor, people automatically become more respectful and accepting of their opinions, and even see them as being taller. Similarly, clothing such as lab coats or uniforms and suits have a similar effect. To protect yourself, ask 2 questions. 1. Is this person really an authority or a fraud? Are his credentials valid? Number 2. Ask yourself, how honest can we expect this person to be? A salesman in a watch shop may be an expert in watches, but he may also stand to make a lot of commission or profit by selling you a particular watch. A few additional points for myself not mentioned in the book. Giving into authority in psychology is called the appeal to authority fallacy, i.e. an error in thinking. Both scarcity and social proof tie in with another psychological phenomena called the bandwagon effect, where we end up doing something simply because other people are doing it. Again, think pandemic and toilet roll fights. Banning something in psychology can often produce what's called the boomerang effect, i.e. basically having the opposite effect of what was intended. So there we have it, a whistle-stop tour and crash course in the 6 fundamentals of the psychology of persuasion: reciprocation, scarcity, consistency, social proof, liking, and authority. Protect yourself using these skills. Either way, knowledge is power. If you want to keep learning about psychology, medicine, or life hack, hit the like, subscribe, and notifications button. Any suggestions or comments, feel free to post below. Until next time, stay safe.